Ali, thanks for coming all the way from Canterbury today.
Yes.
Or were you in Canterbury?
Yes.
Yeah. How'd you get up here?
I drove. Honestly, it's been a myth.
You drove from Canterbury to central London.
It's not. It's a common phenomenon for me. I used to assist at the Landmark Forum, and every single Tuesday for 3 months, I was coming up, and then before that, I was in the Introduction Leaders program. I was up in London 3 times a week. Driving is for me. It's much stress free. I'm in control of everything. I don't have to. I don't get to a train station and get told that train's delayed.
Driving in London, stress free. However, love the suit.
Thank you very much.
Love the
Thank
suit.
you.
Tell me about the suit.
Moss Bros. Moss Bros. Moss Bros on sale. It was actually my student loan had dropped, and it was my birthday, so I was like, I'm gonna treat myself. And I was on the Introduction Leaders program for Landmark. They asked you to dress smart and representably, and I was like, it's time. It's time for me to buy suits, and now here we are.
Well, the reason why I'm speaking to you today is, I run the course called the Man in the Mirror,
Yes.
which is aimed at men, both mature men and young men, and it's about identity. It's about us men looking in the mirror and seeing our true purpose in life. But before we can get to our true purpose, it's understanding who we are, our makeup, and who we want to be, and becoming that person.
Yes.
So I'm really glad to have you today to discuss Man in the Mirror with you, and really that the man you are now and the man you're aspiring to be, which is fantastic, wasn't always that person. So we're going to hear a bit more about your journey to how you got to where you are now. So first of all, your name, Washington Ali, but tell me your full name.
It's Madiwa Washington Ali. So Madiwa it's Zimbabwean. In Shona it means loved one. Then my dad's middle name is also Washington, and I got that one. And then Ali. My grandfather is Muslim, from Muslim descent and from Malawi. And Ali means guardian. I don't know what Washington means.
Yeah. Okay. But you like to be known as
Washington. Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Okay. And I call you Washy.
Yeah. All my friends do.
Oh, okay. So, Washi, take us back to your childhood when you realised, may not be the right word, but you realised that you didn't have a dad around. And tell me about that.
For me, in my world, my dad left my house when I was around 10. Between 10 and 12, it's all a bit foggy right now.
Right.
But the transition wasn't as detrimental or disastrous as I'd like to say, because throughout the process of my mum and their relationship breaking down, my mum would always keep us in constant communication of how she was feeling and how she thought everything was going on, and not necessarily what her expectations were, but like almost giving us a signal as to, I don't like this and this is happening and I'm not happy with that, guys.
Right.
So she and what was so it was always there, and I was always present to it. And then obviously there were times where dad would be sleeping downstairs, coming in late from work, and you just be like, okay, this is happening. But I was playing professional football at the time, so I had a major distraction in my life.
Okay.
I was battling home life was like, do you go, if you don't get your grades, then you won't be able to play football. And early on, my mum and dad would both take me to football, this, that, the other. So everything was pretty normal.
Yeah.
And it was just a fade. It was just a facade. And then I'd probably say growing up, I won't lie to you, until now, I didn't realize what impact it had from role models and things like that.
Yeah.
Because I was just in such a massive bubble. I was in a world of what Washi wants. Washi's just gonna do whatever.
So, do you have any siblings, Washi?
Yeah, I've got an older brother and a younger brother and sister.
What's the age difference?
My older brother is 2 years, and for him and my dad didn't get along. They didn't enjoy each other's company. Okay. They absolutely at the time, my brother just couldn't stand him. Nice. And for him as well, he's gone through that healing process. But it was more of I can't really speak for him, but for me, it's been like, okay, in my head, it's always been like, dad can't provide, so that's why mum and dad split up.
So without divulging too much information with respect to your mum, what was the main reason why your mum was getting agitated with your dad, or which?
for me, my process of it has always been like he wasn't really being the man of the house as she would have liked.
So how would she have liked it?
In my opinion, it's always been taking care of us. Like he was. It's really complicated. It's really complicated because he was like he's always taken me to football. He's always done these things for me, but at the same time, it was as if like it was non-committal.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't 100% there. There was a lack of passion, shall I say, a lack of focusedness in us and in his other ventures and things like that.
So he was there, but he wasn't present.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And coming through with baby brother and sister and things like that, I think that's what also created distance. You know, if my mom's going to be pulling the weight for all of us, it then becomes more and more pressure because the age gap between me and my older brother and me and my younger siblings are 7-8 years.
Yeah.
So it then became then she started creating a system of how can we live well? How can we do things? How can we create a system that works for both my older boys and so that my younger children don't necessarily get neglected or so that they get the same upbringing we did.
Yeah.
You know, which was just full of fun, adventure, and a male figure there to kind of stabilize things or make everything seem normal. Coming up to, and I think a big issue for me when I was growing up, I never actually sought to look at other people or other men as role models. Like in my world, that didn't exist. Like there was no one I could like. Not even like I got my fun-loving bubbliness and all this character from my dad, which I realize this now. But then other than that, I had no role model.
So within your immediate home, your wider family, and extended circles, there wasn't a male figure you would consider as a role model.
Not a role model. I have like I've got barristers that are uncles, tycoons who are uncles, but like there was nothing for me anyway. There wasn't anything like woo.
So what's your idea? Not necessarily now, but back then, that would have been a role model for you. What?
Back then, I was asking a lot of questions in my mind that I didn't share with a load of people, such as why does money exist? This isn't fair. What are my relationships like at school? What's the purpose of this? You know, it was a very
That's a deep question for a young man.
You know, I was trying to really piece these out, and then it was. So, can you repeat your question again, please?
Yeah. So back when you were younger, what would have been an ideal role model for you?
An ideal role model for me would have been, I think, someone who would have taken me into deep thought questions, like someone who would allowed me to like learn philosophy and gain that understanding of just questions, like the art of asking questions, the art of figuring things out, or exploring things that aren't normally explored. Because growing up, it was just education. Luckily, I was talented at sports, so that was like my biggest distraction in the world, right? So it was just someone to inquire into the world of thought.
So if I'm hearing you right, a counsel, someone you could go to for wisdom, for guidance, for advice.
100%.
It sounds like you had a very inquisitive mind,
completely.
and you're looking for someone to explore that with and help you.
100%. And I think so. In my experience, so my mom was really like she's a big lover, but at the same time she's really strict. But so we had loads of fun, but at the same time the fun would stop. And at the time, I felt as if I couldn't speak to my mom as well. I didn't know why. Well, I know now why now. It was because I was telling myself I was doing what I was doing was I was telling white lies here, white lies there, and trying to figure out.
Give me an example of a white lie.
Okay, white lie. So in my mom's car, she would always have like 50p's, £1, £2. Yeah. And then I would be like, so I'll just take it. And then she would ask me, so what happened to my mum in the car? And then I would be like, well, nothing really happened. Or and then it would just be like a building argument, and then she would leave it, and then for me it would stick on. It would be like, how do I do this when I've just done that, right? And it just becomes a role playing game in my head. And then also another one would be going out with friends, staying out a long time. I abused the right first, and then when my mum started getting wider knowledge of how the society works, how society works, the types of schools, what kids my age get up to, especially in certain demographics, certain areas. It became like, okay, first we abused the right, so it got taken away from us, and then from abusing it and taking it away, it was then my fear to then be like, okay, I would like to do this,
Sure.
Or do you know what I mean? So it's like, in hindsight, it was me blocking myself at every single angle of like, okay, like if I just speak to my mum's a really wise lady. Like all her brothers, go to her for counsel. Everyone goes to my mum for counsel. But it's like not even having that there, not even being able to have those discussions. And I used to, with my dad, he used to say like weird comments. Like if you were to finish eating food, he used to say, so you're a fool. And so I'd say I'm full, and then he would say you're a fool. A play on words, right? You know, and I think that's what I embodied as to like, oh, that's actually really funny. You know, and it was just like an access to that world. Because my mum is very logical as well. She's very like, she's switched on. She understands left from right, 1 to 10. She's she's an Olympic chess player as well. So her mind is just like, she sees everything, and she can have fun, but it wasn't relatable to me at the time, you know?
So when did this start going downhill, so to speak, when the distraction of football, being focused, when that started disappearing in terms of your low point?
Well, so it started disappearing when I was around 16. So imagine around 16, around 15 to 16, I'm in year 10, year 11, and my life, how I remember it, consists of what's going on in the world, why are these things happening like that, right? And me going through periods where I can't wait to go to school to forget about everything, or I can't wait to get away from school to go back home. Right. And it was just a consistent cycle of one school term, it would be like that, and then I'll just keep on asking myself questions. Why am I doing things wrong? Why do I feel like this way? And then like a number one thing I remember from that is the music I was listening to was a major big impact of my sad, lonely feeling. Why is it that my friends like me when I'm on certain days, and then certain days they don't like me? Why is it that I can't? Why is it that I have to go to school? Why is it that, again, money exists? Why is it that my mum has to work so often? Why is it that I can't always go out? All of these questions are just like hammering me all the time. And yeah.
So were you getting in trouble at school?
Did you know I was mischievous, but never enough to get into trouble. Like, I was just mischievous.
It's really the questions.
It was just the questions. Everything just didn't fit into a box. You know, it just didn't fit into a box, and now I know I just think really strangely, but but it just wasn't making sense to me. I was having very superficial conversations with my friends, apart from around 2 or 3 people, Cameron, literally, I think it was just Cameron, and then everyone else, I was just like rough and tumble with my best friend Alex, and things like that. And then coming into college is when everything started. I got opened up to a whole new world, so I had more freedom. I was only going to lessons 3 times a week, probably for 3, 4, 5 hours a day, right?
Okay.
Not even a full day. My friend in my chemistry class, I was studying triple science. I hadn't got my GCSEs, but I managed to get into like level 1 triple science. It's because my mom was like, dude, like, you're not doing anything else apart from something that will take you into a direction of something, right? So Jake comes up to me one day, and then he says to me, "Wash, do you think I can rap?" And I'm like, so like, you got to imagine Jake as a stocky boy, stocky lad, square glasses, chipmunk cheeks, Harry Styles hair, Essex way head to toe. And he says to me, "Wash, do you think I can rap?" And I said, "No way you can rap." and then he spits me the hardest freestyle, the hardest 16 I've ever listened to at that time anyway. And from there, it really became. He encouraged me to rap because I've had poetry published and things like that already. He encouraged me to rap, and then it came from rapping in lessons to rapping outside college. We met my friend Jordan. Met my friend Jordan, and Jordan had his speaker one day, and then we were like, "Oh, dude, that's some sick music. Can you rap? Da 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 da. Are you into music?"
Yeah.
And then we formed a group. We formed a group after continuous days. My best friend Tom, who was a DJ.
So this sounds good. This doesn't sound like downhill.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, it sounds great. No, it really does. And it was great until I started skipping school. Until I started missing lessons. Until I started not caring. Until I started avoiding responsibility. Until I started smoking weed, until I started doing things that weren't actually aligned to who I was, but just trying to do it to fit in, to think that I was being cool, to think that I was doing something different. And
well, that's a very good point. We'll pause you there, because in terms of doing things not in line to who you were, and that's a key thing I'm on with a topic of mine at the moment, particularly with every human being, but especially with us men, that does our behaviour line up with who we're meant to be, who we are. So when you started smoking weed, which a lot of people say goes with hand in hand with University of Life, it's like, well, weed, uni goes, was that the first time you took a drug? Did you have cigarettes before?
Literally, yeah.
Okay. Did that lead on to other drugs, or how regularly were you smoking weed?
It became a smoking. It started off as a weekly thing.
Yeah.
Every Thursday, everyone had the same break, and we just go smoke, and it was a joke. We'd freestyle, and then it became.
Your mum knows about this, doesn't she?
And then it became a weekly thing, a daily thing, and then it became like I don't know, like an hourly thing. And then it just became a massive habit, and that whole entire that whole entire cycle just led to me doing that, trying to discover who I was. And I think what's really important in that is that going back to the role model thing, that I never looked at people to be my role models. I never looked at, okay, who's this successful person, or who's this person who does something that I enjoy or can look up to. I could say, like, I probably had Thierry Henry, but I lost the love of football, right?
Okay. And then, I was going to ask you to have a celebrity, so Thierry Henry.
Yeah, okay. Literally. Yeah. And then, like, he was a cocky guy, I was a cocky guy, I was just fully embodying that, and then it was like, okay, but what's the next level? And what's the next level from that? And not actually having that, but having, but from that experience, what I then was able to do was cultivate who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. And through music, it was to serve other people, right? It was to empower other people, it was to spread. I used to say, I just want to spread love and peace through my music.
Sounds very 60s.
You know, I just want everyone to feel as good as I do.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the initial mission. And then I started bringing that mess back home. In terms of coming home high, my mum would be asking me what's going on.
Is it still the weed, or is there any other drugs?
Yeah, it's still the weed.
Okay.
It's like when I moved out, I did experiment with MD, never cocaine, and then things like that. But it was just like, when I say experiment, like 2 or 3 times, you know. And then I was like, drugs and alcohol are not for my system. Right. If I go out, I'll probably have 1 or 2 drinks.
This is now.
Yeah, this is now. But it doesn't sit right for me. It doesn't sit well with me. I brought all my mess back home. Smoking weed. My mum doesn't agree with it, of course. Well, not of course. She doesn't agree with it. And she could see how it was affecting me. How sluggish I was being, how much I cared. Like, I just stopped caring about anything and everything apart from music. All I used to say to my mom is, I'm going to be home late, going to the studio. Going to be studio. And then she correlated the two. And then for her piecing the two together, I then developed some more tension. So I used to tell her, like, I briefly told her, I'm making music, I'm doing this, that, the other. And then when I was faced with resistance, then I shut her off,
Okay.
and then
So there was more hiding.
then it became hiding.
Yeah.
And then I realize now with everything that I'm doing, like we still face resistance,
Yeah.
but there's no hiding.
Okay.
So then it's like, okay, I'm respected for that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But back then it was, I'm hiding. She hates me. She hates what I'm doing, and then I build up this shell around me to say, do you know what? Screw what she says. I'm the best at everything. Da 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 da. And then it got to a point so bad that that I just left. What I done, my friend Sandra just got a flat, 2-bedroom flat, and I was like, Sandra, so I was plotting this for about a month or not. I was like, dude, what would happen if I move in? And he was like, yeah, like as long as you can like help with rent, things like that, you got to secure a job, obviously. And as soon as I got the okay from him, I was just waiting for an explosive moment, because for me it didn't even feel right to move out my mom's house, you know. I was just waiting to do something impulsively, like cause another argument,
Yeah.
or not cause, just when the next argument happens, I'm out. But like my mom's not gonna know when I'm out. I'm just gonna plan everything, take all my stuff while she goes to work.
So this is premeditated.
Yeah,
You calculated.
100%. I packed all my stuff. I don't even remember the day, but in the evening we had an argument after dinner, and then the next morning I was like, packed all my stuff, didn't tell my older brother, didn't tell anyone. I just left. Yeah, from there it became heavy alcoholism. We used to do Tuesday nights at this place called the Old Hat, Thursday nights at the Old Hat again. And then in between that, I was running events. We had gigs in London, and we were just literally just creating, just making music or going to gigs, trying to source money. How I was providing for myself, I worked at a recycling centre in Rochford. Literally, my friend, another Jordan, he worked there, and then I was like, how much do you get paid a week? He was like, I get paid $250, sometimes $300. And then in my head I started reasoning. I brainwashed myself. I was like,
okay,
listen, whilst I'm cleaning up this rubbish, and then in my real life, like a superhero thing, and then in my real life I'm cleaning up the world with my music. And that's how I made sense of all of it.
Yeah.
That's how I made sense of all of it.
So where's your dad in all this? Is there any contact, relationship?
No, there wasn't. My dad left 10 to 12. Last time I saw him when I was 16. Well, before that, when I was 16, just before my prom, and he came to see me. We said hi. It was literally a 5-minute conversation. He was really shocked because I'd grown so much, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, literally.
So your mum was bearing all this?
Yeah, my mum
In terms
was.
of your personality change?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. Like, she was going to work, man in the fort. Like, literally, she's an absolute beast.
Right. So tell me about the U-turn. What?
The U-turn.
Yeah.
What caused the U-turn was through the process of growing in the music world. My mom was telling me, like, she was sharing with me, like, dude, you're doing a lot of this work. You're doing a lot of this work, and everyone might not be at the same pace as you.
Mm-hmm.
She always used to say as well that, dude, like, for us to make this work, number one, you need your own thing, and you need to inject money into this, and you don't currently have that money to. I don't currently have that money to inject into you for it to work as well as it can work.
Yeah.
Instead of you floating around, running around and stuff. So it then came to that process where I started noticing these things. I'm about 8 months in, and it's not the same. I'm not getting the same response from my friends, apart from Jordan and Tom. Everyone else is like back into their own life. It's like what I did was a publicity stunt that didn't last long enough.
Yeah.
You know, and then it became and then I moved in with my sensei, and then my sensei was starting to teach me. So I quit. I stopped working at the recycling center. Got crazier. A lot more smoking, a lot more going out. Actually, one day my mum found out where I was living, because like Westcliff is is where a community of black people are, and one of her friends told her, that I was there, and she drove round after work. She drove around and saw me, and I was so drunk. I was so drunk, and she said to me, I don't even remember what she said to me. She said to me, "Come home." She said to me, "Come home right now. Like, what are you doing? Is this what you're doing? Getting drunk on a Tuesday night and going out? Is this what your life has come to?" And then completely disregarded that. I had my uncle come and visit me as well. He's like, "Dude, like, don't do this. Just come live with me for a bit. Just get yourself together." I had people coming to me. And I was rejecting their help.
So what did it for you? When did you start?
When I realized everyone had their own lives.
Yeah.
Everyone had their own lives, and what we were building wasn't the priority. What was the priority was actually their life. So that's when I was like, damn, I'm stuck. Where do I go?
Yeah, it's a very good point, because when you mentioned the phrase publicity stunt, and it is, people then think, get on with their own work life, don't they? In terms of, that's you, fine, get on with it, but I've got my own life to lead. And we realise, some longer than others, that we're not that important to other people.
Yeah, literally.
As much as we'd like to think we are, we're not that important.
It's painful. Especially if you're the clown as well.
Yeah.
Because if you're the clown, it seems as if everyone needs you, or everyone's giving you that attention. So it's like that whole entire illusion was completely dissipated.
Yeah. So you went back home.
Yeah.
You got a very faithful mother.
Honestly, she just loved me.
If you had a message, was she for mums out there, particularly single mums, raising young adults, young boys, who are at that challenging age, between 13 and 18, finding their way, probably doing crazy stuff like you, or even more advanced or less, what advice would you give to them?
First thing is, like, you gotta keep on trying. My mum didn't stop. You gotta keep on trying. I think it was you that said, like, the reason why I didn't get hooked to all these drugs is because she was praying for me. She was like, she was keeping me.
So you believe that your mum's faith was a major part of her response towards you?
100%. I feel as if, otherwise, where would have I gone? At that time, I would have either been staying with my sensei, or I would have been sofa surfing, or I would have been homeless.
Yeah.
Like, those are the like, even my sensei wouldn't even be a big accountability thing, because that's my teacher, right?
Yeah.
And then my friends, I can only stay at my friends because we're 17, 18, 19. How long can I stay at their parents' house for?
Yeah.
So it then becomes a thing of, it's really that persistent saying, hey, I'm here. My mum, on Mother's Day, called her up and she was like, yeah, I'll come through. I'll still hang out with you.
So her behaviour towards you, her attitude, love towards you, you didn't sense any change throughout?
There wasn't any change. Like, even my mum, it's just pure love. Like, there's no bitterness. There was hope. There was hope. There was faith that I would come back, or that I would find my way somewhere, and for me, it was just like, it's even just knowing that I can go back home as well, because it's, just...
So that was your security?
Yeah, it was...
Despite your, I would say, your separation from yourself, you still knew, I can go home.
Yeah, 100%. And as much as I brainwashed to say myself, I'm never going home, I won't go home, that was still there. That was still there.
So tell us briefly about what you're doing now.
Now I'm an empowerment coach.
Yeah.
So it's similar to you, I think. I work with people 18 to 26, or even, that's my designated area, but anyone older I don't mind working with, to help them come from a place. So that whole entire experience coming home caused a whole entire cognitive dissonance, because I still wanted to be with Avex, but I was back home.
Explain cognitive dissonance. It's funny, it's this topic that I mentioned at the university I was lecturing yesterday.
Yeah.
And someone might say, explain for the everyday person. Cognitive
it's
dissonance.
wanting to do two things that don't agree with each other.
Yeah.
That complete opposites that don't make any sense whatsoever. And I was experiencing that. I didn't yeah, it was just those two worlds were there,
Yeah.
and me feeling like I was betraying my friends,
Okay.
and then coming back home. Well, when I was at home, I felt like I was betraying my friends, and when I was with my friends, I was like, I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like, and then even when I stopped doing all of those things, stopped smoking weed, I actually stopped drinking for a whole year. I stopped taking drugs and things like that. It then became, okay, I can't be here anymore. Completely separate myself, and then I stayed home. And then being at home, it then developed into like, I think because of what I experienced out there, not realizing that my family, by the way, is that are these people here for me?
Yeah.
Are they actually here for me, or am I in just some sick cycle of people not being able to be there for you?
Yeah.
You know, not being able to trust people. So I got home and no one was trustworthy. I was anxious, I was depressed, and I had psychosis as well, like a mild form.
Yeah.
So it's like coaching people to actually be able to build a full life.
Okay.
And to understand what their main principle, what their main values,
Yeah.
what they respect, what they need in their life to survive, understanding what's stopping them from progressing.
Yeah.
So for me, it was responsibility. Like for me, it's
So if you sum it up, it'll be responsibility.
it's responsibility. It's avoidance. Like everywhere I was going, even leaving Apex is avoidance of responsibility,
Yeah.
right? Because I was left with everything on me. So it's avoidance of responsibility at Apex. It's avoidance of responsibility in my education. It's an avoidance of responsibility at my household and the part I have to play.
So, Washi, how old are you?
I'm 22.
I deliberately didn't say your age at the beginning because most people with your life experience and how you've come through it and the maturity you have now would not believe you're still a very young man at the age of 22. So what would you, in your 22 years of wisdom, life experience, what would you say to a young Washi out there now who's 16 years of age going through similar battles as you, regards to not having a role model, seeking direction but not knowing where to go, falling into drugs, alcohol, and as you said, avoiding responsibility?
For me, I think the first step I would say is to think of, okay, who would you like to serve, or who would you like to be? Next step is to look for wisdom. Like wisdom is everywhere. It's to look for wisdom. It's to look for knowledge, like real tangible knowledge. To seek counsel. For me, it's very important. For people my age, anyone, I say if you're at uni, for human beings, your first sort of counsel is your family. And then for me, next it's if you're in work or educational institution, and then if you don't have that, or if you don't feel comfortable, it's friends. And those are, for me, the three pillars that you really need. And faith. I believe, I don't mind if you're Christian, Hindu, spiritual. I believe that faith is a really, really important counterpart to life. And if it's not faith, it's really responsibility.
Okay. All right. Yeah, like I see, responsibility is really strong in your heart, and you're right. You need to show responsibility towards you, the person in the mirror, before you can extend that responsibility outside.
Exactly.
So it's been great speaking to you. Final word from you. Let's fast forward. Let's be generous. You're going to live past 100. So let's fast forward 80, 90 years, okay?
Yeah.
And a senior Washington, looking back at his life, what would you have wanted to achieve?
So I tell you, my highest level goal is to become part of a group of people, or create a group of people where our sole and main mission is to stabilize the African economy.
Okay.
And that's it.
That's great. That's a major mission. And Washington, if you are blessed that you have the opportunity on your deathbed to look back at your life before you leave this earth and say, yes, I helped achieve, stabilise the African economy, that is a major achievement. Whoever I'd like to say, I don't want anything to happen to you, even Washington's time has passed now, you've done amazingly well. You've achieved many great things, and the most important thing you've achieved is that decision to become you. And that is the highest achievement you can become, is to dare to be you, and you've done that by making that decision, by taking responsibility and saying, right, I'm going to discover who I am, and through that I'm going to know my purpose and fulfill it. So well done. And personally, as seeing a young black man, especially when there's so many negative reports in the media in regards to young black men, it's an inspiration, and you'll be encouragement to many men out there of all colours, but particularly to the black race. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Cheers.